The night the young doctor changed her bandage was supposed to be routine, the kind of quiet hospital shift where machines breathed for patients and time moved like thick syrup, but nothing about that woman was ever ordinary, even in stillness, because Eleanor Whitmore, the billionaire philanthropist whose name crowned libraries, children's hospitals, and scholarship wings across the city, lay unconscious for 73 days without a flicker of response, her wealth useless against the silence. That wrapped her like a second skin, and when Dr. Aaron Cole, barely 30, new to the neurology wing and still carrying the humility of someone who had clawed his way up from a poor neighborhood, stepped into her ICU room that night, he didn't know he was about to rewrite both of their lives. He had been assigned the simplest task: inspect and replace the pressure bandage around her abdomen, a minor procedure delegated to him because senior doctors were attending a gala downstairs ironically. Funded by Eleanor's own foundation, and as Aaron washed his hands and approached her bed, he noticed details others had stopped seeing, the faint crease between her brows as if she were concentrating on a thought too heavy to lift, the shallow rhythm of her breath syncing strangely with the beeping monitor, the way her fingers twitched when the air shifted, and he spoke to her softly, not because protocol demanded it but because something inside him insisted she could hear, telling her his name. Apologizing for the cold hands, explaining every movement as if she were awake, and when he carefully loosened the bandage, he saw bruising no chart had mentioned, pressure marks that suggested discomfort, and instead of rushing, he adjusted his technique, repositioned her slightly, and applied the new bandage with gentler precision, pausing when her heart rate spiked for half a second, and in that pause, something extraordinary happened. Her eyelids fluttered. At first Aaron thought exhaustion was playing tricks on him, but then her fingers curled, her lips parted, and with a faint gasp that sounded like air breaking through ice, Eleanor Whitmore opened her eyes, unfocused but alive, and the room exploded into alarms as Aaron called for help, nurses rushing in, senior doctors abandoning champagne glasses mid-toast, and as chaos filled the ICU, Eleanor's gaze locked onto Aaron's face, her pupils dilating with recognition that made no logical sense, and she whispered one word, barely audible but unmistakable, "You." Over the following hours, as tests confirmed what medicine called a spontaneous awakening but what many quietly labeled a miracle, Eleanor drifted in and out, yet every time she surfaced, her eyes searched for Aaron, refusing to calm until he was by her side, and when she was stable enough to speak, she revealed something that sent chills through everyone who listened. She had been aware, trapped in her body, conscious but unable to move or speak, hearing conversations as if through water, and among all the voices, doctors discussing prognosis, lawyers arguing over assets, distant relatives debating inheritance, only one voice ever spoke to her like a human being, only one explained, apologized, cared, and that voice had given her the strength to fight back to the surface. Days turned into weeks, and Eleanor recovered faster than medical literature could justify, while Aaron, once invisible in the hierarchy of white coats, found himself summoned to meetings, praised publicly, and quietly resented by those who believed miracles should belong to titles, not juniors. But Eleanor insisted on seeing him, and when she was finally well enough to leave the hospital, she asked for a private conversation where she told him her story, not of money or power, but of loneliness, of a childhood spent proving her worth through success, of building an empire yet trusting no one, and of how lying helpless had stripped her of everything except awareness, making kindness the only currency that mattered. And she offered him a gift he never expected, not money, though she could drown him in it, but partnership, a chance to help redesign patient care protocols so no one would ever be treated like an unresponsive object again. The media spun the story into headlines about a handsome doctor and a waking beauty, but the truth was deeper, quieter, and far more powerful, because Aaron declined interviews, choosing instead to work alongside Eleanor as she funded a new initiative focused on coma patient communication, while he continued night shifts, still speaking to unconscious patients, still believing they listened. And months later, when Eleanor stood on a stage unveiling the Aaron Cole Center for Conscious Care, she looked directly into the camera and said that wealth didn't save her, technology didn't save her, fame didn't save her, human compassion did. And somewhere in the crowd, Aaron felt the same humility he'd carried into that ICU room, understanding that greatness often hides in small acts done when no one is watching. And if this story moved you, inspired you, or reminded you that kindness can change destinies, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because here we share stories that awaken hearts just like Eleanor's was awakened that night, and your support helps us bring more powerful, life-changing narratives to you every single week.